is D101CR 2023-40, State of New Mexico versus Hannah Gutierrez Reed. Parties, please state your appearance.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mary Carmack Altwies for the State of New Mexico.
Good morning, Your Honor. Jason Bowles from Ms. Gutierrez Reed, who does appear by Google Meet.
All right, thank you. All right, so there are two other cases joined with this, State of New Mexico versus Alec Baldwin, and also State of New Mexico versus David Halls. They have both filed waivers of first appearance, which has been honored by the court. So now, Ms. Gutierrez Reed, we are going to go through your first appearance. This is not a time when you're going to enter a plea. This is simply a time where you are going to get your advice of rights and constitutional rights and exposure penalties. I'm sure Mr. Bowles has gone over this with you. So, Ms.
Yes,
Carmack, okay, very good. Ms. Carmack Altwies, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Hannah Gutierrez Reed has been charged with 2 counts in the alternative of involuntary manslaughter. Involuntary manslaughter carries 18 months of jurisdiction, a potential $5,000 fine, and 1 year of parole if there is a prison term.
You're on mute, Ms. Carmack Altwies.
I don't know how that happened. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Hannah Gutierrez Reed has been charged with 2 counts in the alternative of involuntary manslaughter. They do carry 18 months. Both counts carry 18 months of jurisdiction, along with 1 year of parole and a potential $5,000 fine.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Gutierrez Reed, you also have the right to release or the possibility of pretrial detention. We'll talk about, obviously, release conditions, not detention today. You have the right to trial by jury. You have the right to assistance of counsel at every stage of the proceedings. You have the right to, if any, to representation by an attorney at state expense, and the right to remain silent, and that any statement made by you may be used against you. And finally, you have the right to a preliminary examination. So those are your constitutional rights. Do you have issues with respect to scheduling, Ms. Carmack Altwies?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
For prelim?
We would ask for a prelim within 60 days, although I do know that because there are several parties involved, that we might be asking for that extra 60 days extension.
Mr. Bowles?
Your Honor, and that is correct. I was going to ask Ms. Carmack Altwies in the court if we could work out something and see if we could present that to the court or talk about it. One of the things, Your Honor, I have a federal trial that's set. It's not going off April 24th. It's a 2-week trial. And I just wanted to, we're okay with the 60-day extension if the court is, to work this out in May, possibly.
Okay, well, go ahead and do that by a motion and then get Mr. Baldwin's, I'm hearing Mr. Bowles is not opposed, but I don't know what Mr. Baldwin's position would be. I will say that I'm planning on hearing that obviously the motion for disqualification first, and then I will hear the preliminary examination. If you all want a scheduling order, a status hearing to schedule, I'm happy to do that. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. I think a status hearing might be the way to move forward, just to get all of the parties together. Certainly, we will confer prior to that with regard to timing and dates, but we were intending that the motion on the disqualification would be heard first as well.
All right. So I could set this. Mr. Baldwin's not here, and I know that you have joined in his motion for disqualification, Mr. Bowles,
Yes,
and that your response is due March 6th, Ms. Carmack Altwies, and then obviously Mr. Baldwin has the reply time. So I don't know if you want me, it's Mr. Baldwin's motion. I don't know whether you want me to set a status hearing further down the road or earlier so that travel plans could be made, even if it's an additional 60 days. The prelim is in person, and I would anticipate that the motion would be Google unless you all, agreed to in person. But I don't know is it the sooner the better on a status hearing?
I think actually a little a little set out would make more sense. That helps us all to confer and figure out where we're going with this.
Mr. Bowles?
Yes, I agree, Your Honor. Possibly mid-March or whenever the court had time.
Okay. Well, I'll take a look at my schedule and then I'll set a status hearing for both to be set, and it'll be by Google Meets. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else before the court? Do we want to go through conditions?
Your Honor,
we do need to address conditions. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge. And Your Honor, we are requesting the least restrictive conditions that will secure her appearance, obviously, under the rules. This has been 15 months that we've been pending the investigation. I think Ms. Gutierrez Reed has demonstrated she's not a flight risk. And secondly, she's not a danger to the community. We're requesting that she have ROR release, that she maintain employment, that she maintain contact with her attorney, that she have no contact with witnesses. And we are also requesting, Your Honor, a specific exclusion to the normal standard condition, which is that she be allowed to possess a firearm in her home only. And there's a reason for that request, and that was the only issue that I understood was between the two parties. The reason for the request is when the release of information occurred, and this was before the district attorney got involved, but when the sheriff's office released that information, they did not redact the phone numbers and some of the private identifiers. Ms. Gutierrez Reed then had numerous threats, phone threats. She had voicemails that were very, very, very bad. She has had a stalker, and so she had a restraining order she had to get, and I indicated that to the district attorney. I sent that over. So her request, as she is asking the court, is just to be able to have for self-defense in her home only, not to be able to possess a firearm generally outside of her home. And other than that, Your Honor, that's the only real dispute I think we had.
All right. Ms. Carmack-Altweiss.
That's correct, Your Honor. We were agreeing to all standard conditions of release. The concern that we had is that this case came about, at least in part, because of Ms. Gutierrez Reed's sloppy mishandling of firearms and guns. And so while I'm very understanding that she has a restraining order, and Mr. Bowles did send it over to me, I just don't think it's appropriate for her to have firearms. There are other ways of dealing with this. She can move, she can have pepper spray, a bat, something else in her house, but I adamantly oppose her having firearms.
And Your Honor, we're not going to litigate this today, and it's not the preliminary hearing, but we do object to the comment about sloppy mishandling. That did not occur. There is no allegation that she is a danger to anyone having a firearm within her home, and it's for self-protection because of actions that the state took in releasing private information. That is the reason for that request.
All right, thank you. The court makes the following ruling on order setting conditions of release. Ms. Gutierrez Reed, you're going to be released on your own recognizance. You're not to have now, Mr. Baldwin had contact in his stipulated order setting conditions of release. You don't want that, Mr. Bowles, with any, because she's finished with that.
Correct, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay. All right. So no contact with any of the witnesses that may testify in this case or at the preliminary examination. I am going to allow you to have a firearm for self-defense at your residence. Okay. And then standard conditions, if you could fill that out, Mr. Bowles, the Form 9, I think it's 303.
Yes, I will, Your Honor.
Okay. And then the next thing you'll see from the court is a status hearing date via Google, so we can set those dates. Okay. And we'll talk then about timeframes, certainly.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you all. We are in recess.
Thank you, Your Honor.